Wake up, Big Sonic. Small Sonic, what is it, Small Sonic? I was just outside, Big Sonic, and I was running back home and someone tried to sell me into slavery. Big Sonic, I was about to get sold into slavery, Big Sonic. Well, Small Sonic, what appears to be the problem here? Big Sonic, someone was trying to sell me into slavery, Big Sonic. Well, Small Sonic, that is quite a tragedy indeed. Big Sonic, you know when you're a slave, you don't really have any rights, you can't do anything on your own. Oh, so glad that I dodged those guys. Big Sonic, these rights that way. As a slave, you can't do what you want. Big Sonic, is slavery moral? Well, Small Sonic, I don't think there is any sort of like way to prove whether or not slavery is moral or immoral. It's kind of just neutral, just depends on your belief system and your interpretation. Big Sonic, do we have rights? Yo, guys! Back at it here, guys! The topic of this video, guys, is going to be about, do human rights exist? This is such a fascinating topic, guys. Do human rights exist? And this is such an important topic as well because it relates to like politics. It relates to so many sorts of things. Do human rights exist? Obviously, if we're gonna be like very objective about this, guys, like it's not like you can pick up like what is human rights? It's not something that is tangible in any way. It's not like you can go and get like a microscope and you can like see something called human rights. It's not like it's written on our foreheads that, oh yes, we have rights and we are privileged and we have certain like privileges and we're born with like rights and freedom and etc. None of that stuff is like, it's not like when you're born, it's like written on your forehead, yes, human rights. It's not something that's tangible in any materialistic way. You know what I mean? It's not like we can pick up like human rights. It's like something that's physical and we can pick it up and we can prove that it's actually real. It's not just something that we imagined on our own with our own minds. And actually that is what human rights is, guys. It's something that we simply just imagined up. A lot of you be a little bit contentious, guys. Seriously, can you prove, do human rights exist? Guys, is it something tangible? Can you, like, is human rights, because it is like a very emotional subject and topic. I'm not saying that us human beings, that we shouldn't have certain you're allowed to abuse people or anything. I do believe that we should actually have such a thing as human rights, that people should be like valued and they should be like sort of protected against harm. I think that's very much important. But guys, if we're gonna be like very scientific, if we're gonna be very materialistic, guys, here, do human rights exist? Guys, it's not like it's something that you can prove. It's not like something human rights. It's not like it's something that's like tangible, materialistic. It's not something that you can like pick up and put in a test tube and prove. It's not like it's something that's like tangible. Oh, wake up, Big Sonic. Anyway, where was I? Big Sonic, someone's moved us here to a different location. What's this thing here? What's that weird object over there? Oh, I don't know what that is. Oh. Big Sonic, I was talking about rights. Do we actually have any real natural rights? Are we born free? Are we born with certain privileges and luxuries that no one can take away from us? Small Sonic, to me it appears to be the case that no, actually, that we don't really have any sort of like rights or luxuries or privileges. Someone bigger than you might come in and put you into bondage, and you won't be able to resist them in any way if you don't have the right physical capabilities. In all honesty, Small Sonic, it appears that your physical power, your strength, and your intelligence, that's really what determines whether or not you are free or whether you're a slave. You don't really have any real rights or privileges. Do human rights exist? Do human rights exist? It's a bit dubious. Some slight interruptions. Don't need to worry too much about that in the background noise. Do human rights exist? Again, human rights, it's not something tangible. It's not something that can be physically like analyzed in any meaningful way. It's simply just a product of our imagination. I do think so, guys. I don't think that there is any such thing as human rights. If you like, it's not like it's written on our foreheads. It's not written in the sky. It's not really real in any meaningful type of way. Then is it? Do human rights exist? A lot of you are gonna be so contentious. But guys, really, do human rights exist? I don't think so. Again, it's not tangible, it's not physical, it's not something that can be analyzed and dissected or like proven to be real. Do human rights exist? And this is so important regarding politics, culture, society, our history, because it does, especially regarding ethics, because you know, like there's so many things that were plaguing our history, you know, like slavery and etc. and stuff like that. And human rights has always been like the type of like foundation for us, like kind of preventing a lot of like harm to ourselves, you know what I mean? Slavery, certainly, you know, like there's so many like different sorts of like things that basically human rights has been kind of like a shield against like us just like abusing each other relentlessly and like enslaving each other and, you know, all these sorts of atrocious things. Do human rights exist? That's like kind of like a very tricky, difficult question, guys. I'm of the very, very strong opinion, guys. I think so that actually, again, because if we're going to be very scientific and materialistic, I don't think that it's not like human rights, that's a tangible object, or it's not like something that can be like physically picked up. It's like written on your forehead. It's not really real then in any meaningful type of way. Human rights, what is that type of thing? Is that actually, do human rights actually exist? It's kind of like a little bit dubious, but really, if we're going to be like very materialistic and scientific, it's not like human rights, that's not something that you can actually, that you can like pick up, like put together. It's not like it's written on our foreheads. So honestly, it perhaps might not even be real then. Human rights, can you actually, is that like a physical thing that you can pick up? Is it something that's like written on your forehead? Is it like in the sky that you can like see clearly in the whole? This is so interesting, guys, that human rights, do human rights exist? This is so fascinating. I'm actually of the very strong opinion, guys. Not in a very, human rights do not exist regarding like objectivity, regarding like the objective world, regarding like, certainly like tangibility and materialism. Human rights is not something that can be like analyzed, dissected. It's not something that can be like tangibly measured in any type of way. It's something that's so like conceptual regarding like our minds and like, what we agree. Big Sonic. So you're saying that I don't really have any real rights or anything like that? No, Small Sonic. Basically, Small Sonic, might makes right. Your privileges, your rights, anything like that. Your I guess how would I term this? Your luxuries and your ability to be free, all of that is all determined, Small Sonic, by how strong you are and how you're able to fend other people off and how you're able and capable of surviving with your own like potential and your power and your strength. So basically, Big Sonic, what you're saying is might makes right. If you're not strong enough, you're probably going to get sold into bondage by someone else who's bigger and stronger. That is like very insane, and we live in a world like this, Big Sonic, where bigger creatures take advantage and abuse and even consume and eat smaller creatures. Why is this, Big Sonic? Small Sonic, that is just exactly how the world is, and that's how it was for a long while now. What we agree on and stuff like that, it's not something that's like actually real in a proper way. Like it's like an apple that you can pick up, or any type of physical materialistic like object, like these keys that I'm holding in my hand. It's like, oh look, it's like human rights, like you can just like pick it up like this and you can like see it and see clearly what human rights is, and you know what I mean? It's not like it's something that can be like practically like measured and analyzed and proven in any type of meaningful way. Do human rights exist? I'm of the very strong opinion, guys, that actually I believe that human rights is actually something, it's probably just a figment of our imaginations, guys. I don't think it's something that's tangible. I don't think it can be proven in a practical, consistent way. Human rights is such a tricky issue, guys, because it relates to like so much of our history, especially relates to politics. It relates to like culture and society in general. Human rights, but it's like something like human rights. It's like something that's like so like difficult to come to terms with, to contemplate on, to kind of even like to see clearly, because human rights, guys, that is so important, but it's like so wishy-washy. It's not like, again, it's not like a physical like object that you can actually pick up and you can like dissect and analyze and see clearly, see like the clear definitions and boundaries of what this is, like human rights. And obviously, especially related to politics, it's like such a tricky subject and topic, because it gets endlessly debated by so many different sorts of like wannabe philosophers, so many politicians and all these other people that think they know quite a lot. They actually don't know anything. They all like argue about human rights and whatever, my rights, this rights, that rights, this and this, my rights. Guys, it's actually a bit of a tragedy that human rights, do human rights exist? The clear answer to this question, guys, is no. If we're going to be very, very objective, not like, we're not going to be wishy-washy, we're not going to be talking about like philosophy, but if we're going to be like clear-cut and very objective and scientific, and we're only going to be caring about the physical world and what we can see and measure and pick up and analyze. The obvious answer to this type of question, do human rights exist, is fuck no, obviously not. Because it's not something that can be physically measured in any meaningful type of way. Do human rights exist? Because it is like an endlessly debated topic, and a lot of people are like very emotional about this as well. And some certain people have like religious views, and they mix their religion into like their belief system and their like understanding of morality and stuff, which is kind of a little bit funny to me. Because if you look at the Bible, if you read the Bible, in the Bible, the biblical God actually kills people relentlessly. You know, Noah's flood, he literally genocides people, wipes people out. 1 Samuel 15:3, the biblical God literally allows the Israelites to like genocide the children of the Amalekites and slaughter them. So the biblical God actually kills people and genocides people and does all this like crazy things. So and that's where most Christians and Abrahamic people, that's where they get their morality from. Isn't that kind of a little bit funny? But human rights, even if you're like religious, your God, if you're like an Abrahamic person, the biblical God literally kills people relentlessly. So you worship like a deity that is okay with like killing people himself, but you're not allowed to do that. It's kind of funny to me. But do human rights exist? This is such an important topic, guys. I actually do think so, guys, that perhaps no, human rights aren't something that can be objectively proven in any meaningful type of way. This is like so like difficult to come to terms with, because it really does like result in like nihilism. I do think so. That's why I think so many people kind of a little bit hesitant about like kind of agreeing with me regarding like, do human rights actually exist? Because it almost leads you down towards like a very dark place, certainly towards like nihilism, existential nihilism, that there is no like objective like morality or ethics or anything like that. That is like very, very dark and like sinister indeed. And I think that's quite honestly, I think that's why so many people, they would rather not like contemplate on this too deeply. Do human rights exist? Does morality exist? Or any of these sorts of things? These sorts of questions, most people would kind of like shy away from these questions and not really want to get too close to them and see them clearly, these types of questions. But you know, like, do human rights exist? It's such an important like topic, and obviously it depends on your like belief system. If you believe in a God that sends down morality and ethics and etc., then perhaps fair enough. But if you're like, maybe you might not believe in any deities at all, you might be an atheist or an agnostic, then do human rights exist? It's kind of like, to me, it's like, then if you don't really believe in any deities or higher spiritual power, I mean, morality and ethics, who gets to determine that? To me, it's like, obviously all of this is like very, very, very subjective and stuff. I'm just like, but if we're gonna be like super, super scientific, if we're only gonna be looking at like the physical, materialistic world, then honestly, guys, I think that human rights is kind of like it's fantasy, isn't it? It's like something that we just like conceptualize with our own minds. And that's why if you look around the world, there's like so many differing like views on like human rights and morality and ethics. Some countries actually think that like slavery, that is like perfectly reasonable. Other countries say that it's like horrendous. Some countries think that cannibalism's okay. You know, like there's like so much diversity regarding like the human like consensus on like morality and ethics, and certainly human rights. Do human rights exist? Honestly, guys, it's not, if we're going to be scientific, then I think not, because you can't like, it's not like we can pick it up. Like there's like such a thing as like good and bad in human rights. We can pick these things up and we can put them in a test tube and prove them for sure. But you know, really think about this carefully, guys. Think about it. Contemplate on this.
Big Sonic, wake up, Big Sonic. Damn it, Small Sonic, we've been moved by someone again. Big Sonic, so we were talking about human rights, and we were talking about whether or not we actually are born free and whether or not we are slaves. And that creature thing that when I was running back home, he tried to put me into bondage and I was almost about to turn into a slave. Well, Small Sonic, that is quite honestly, that is just how the world is. All like freedom, all of that is not something that we're all born with. It's something that must be earned through rebellions and through us fending each other and other creatures and organisms off. Life is sort of like a battlefield, Small Sonic. If you're not capable and strong enough, you will be abused and taken advantage of by someone else or some other creature that's bigger than you. Big Sonic, is that true, Big Sonic? Small Sonic, that appears to be true indeed. Life is like a big grand battlefield, and if you aren't capable or strong enough, you probably are going to get abused and taken away into slavery. That is a tragedy, Big Sonic.